How's it going, folks? So we are here with the first ever episode of what I'm currently calling Industry Mind Games. That may change. The overlay may change, so I do apologize for the crappy design here. But we're going to go ahead and talk to my good buddy Cable. How's it going, Cable?
Good. How are you?
Alright, so guys, if you don't know who Cable is, actually let's go ahead and get into the kind of show design first. So in most esports interviews, or most interviews in general, people always go ahead and sort of discuss what someone's done in the past and sort of how they feel about what they've done and their accomplishments and stuff like that. I don't care about their accomplishments. I want to know how they came up with those accomplishments. My buddy Cable here is not, anyone new to accomplishments. He is the head and creator of SoCal eSports. You can see both of our shirts here. There's a little bit of branding there. And so, Cable, what kind of spurred on the desire to build up SoCal eSports?
It was this desire to build a local community. To be fully honest, I was inspired by listening to State of the Game, and In Control just has kind of that like motivational persuasions. Persuasive speaker, a motivational speaker.
He's like
aspect
he's like
to him,
esports
and he was,
Hitler.
I don't know. Well, so he was doing just the whole thing about everybody can do their part, and if you really want esports to grow, then figure out what you can do and make it happen. Just do it. Stop asking about it. Just do it. And I think that was one of Day 9's things that he said too. So I really love StarCraft. I played it a lot. I played it competitively to me, which was Diamond League, but I really cared about my games. I was very into it. So anyways, we have a string of LAN centers in the Southern California area, and I knew that there were a lot of people who were into it. So I figured, hey, let's do like a local LAN circuit. Let's just have, as many people want to come out, whether it's like 15, 20, 30 people, whatever. We'll just do a little LAN circuit, and we'll have a mini bracket tournament and do it. And I knew of some other places who had tried to do the same thing, and people who had successfully done it in this area for other games like CS and Battlefield, stuff like that, old school FPSs that were back here. So I figured, let's give it a shot. And I got my buddy, and then our next step was, how are we going to fund it, right? Like, I want there to be prizes. I want it to be meaningful. I want people to have draw to come, to be excited to come. Some kind of nominal prizes. How do we do that? How do we get cash? Like, I'm not going to just pay out of my own pocket. So then we came up with the idea of a barcraft that was barely starting back then. Seattle had one, Texas had one, I think LA had one. And so we found a bar. I think we scoped 15 different bars and found one that was really awesome and supportive, and we did a barcraft. It was huge. We got a little percentage of kickback on that from the bar for bringing in so many people, and we used that kickback as our prize money for our tournament. So basically we just had an idea, decided that we wanted to do it, and how do we do that?
Awesome. So yeah, I think that's one of the big parts of this whole show, or this whole series that I'm going to go ahead and do, is how does it get to that point? And so I think probably the most interesting thing, everyone can have an idea, and so it's how you execute. How did you go ahead? I think SoCal eSports is mainly known for pub stomps and things like that as of right now, right? Currently? So
Our crafts, pub stomps, and local tournaments. That's our big thing.
So I mean, how do you go about scouting locations, or sort of talking to people in the area that might be interested in helping out, whether it be a location or a restaurant or sponsors, things like that?
Yeah, Google's your friend, but you know what I found more for service-oriented places like venues and locations is Yelp is a better friend. Try to have somewhat of a general idea of what you're looking for and go on Yelp. And not only will you get actual addresses, phone numbers, just right there in front of you without having to dive into their websites, but you also get possibly pictures of the insides of the venues and people's reviews of the venues as well. So I want it to be actually a really helpful service for that. But then you get all these places, you kind of scope, maybe will they have enough capacity? Will they have will they be conducive to an esports type event? Will they care about esports, or at least care that you care about it? Like some place like Yard House, they're a little uppity, not uppity, but they're just so high on the totem pole that elite that they really don't care. They're not going to give you the time of day. But somewhere that's maybe a local mom and pop bar who takes on little local groups or enjoys having passionate sets of people, then it might be more prone to take you on. Thankfully, we actually got a Buffalo Wild Wings, which is a big chain, but their marketing manager was looking for new ways to reach out, so we hit him at the right time frame. But yeah, just Google, Yelp, and then you have to like go in and talk to the managers. So whether it be you're trying to get like a viewing party going at a bar, or you're trying to talk to a LAN center, or wherever you might be trying to go for a venue, like you have to go talk to the managers. And a face-to-face meeting is like always the best. Phone call is one thing, and like it's nice, but they don't know who you are. They don't see your passion in your face. They don't see that you hold yourself well, you have good poise, that you know what you're doing. You know how to comb your hair, right? Like silly things that like presentability, relationship, or a one-on-one conversation even the first time can go a long way as to your credibility. So anyways, meeting in person is very important. Get the feel for them, get the feel for their bar, try to envision the setup of your event, whether it be a tournament, a viewing party, try to envision it there. And then that's going to narrow your field right there automatically from like 15, 20 places, probably like 5 or less. And then you just pick which one's best for you guys.
Yeah. So what do you go when you're going ahead to meet these managers? What do you go ahead with the mindset or the kind of goal in mind? I mean, it is to go ahead and get their venue, but I mean, what's the mindset that you're going in with when you go into that conversation? What are you trying to really push?
That they know nothing about esports. Like that's the first thing you want to do is they probably know nothing about esports and they're gonna think you're stupid because you play video games competitively, and so you have to go in prepared, right? You have to go in with at least a conceptualized explanation of what esports is, why it's legitimate, right? Like say prize pools, audience numbers. They sold out the Korea World Cup stadium, or they sold out. These things that show that this thing is actually growing. It's big. Things like Forbes magazine recently said that that the new generation recognizes YouTube stars more than they recognize Hollywood movie stars. So like these things allow them to think in a manner that is persuasive to you, that explains what you're all about, because they probably don't know any better, and then says in their brain, hey, this might be a new thing that will grow. I want to get in on the ground floor. And so then they'll be more willing to support you. But you have to be prepared. We actually did some little presentations with pictures to show these people, like a little PowerPoint on a laptop, and just show them, like, here's a picture of this place, here's a place, proof of concept kind of thing. Thankfully, we've had the way paved a lot now for years with, what I've done, with what Oscar did in Seattle for Barcraft, and then what others have done for LAN tournaments and viewing parties. So, the way is paved now. You just give them examples.
Yeah, so, I mean, SoCal eSports didn't just grow from these events. I mean, you did successfully grow a community. How did you go about handling and managing the community and sort of keeping it growing and keeping the passion there?
Yeah, one of the biggest tools that I've used is Facebook, and I've used Twitter as well, although not to the extent of Facebook. I feel like different people are creatures of different social media, right? You have your Instagrammers, your Twitters, your Facebookers. For the most part, those are the three. But I've always taken to Facebook, particularly because they have event setups. Like it's pre-built in. You can create an event. You can invite people to the event. It gives you time, address, location, all that stuff that's there. And you can invite your whole friends list, or you can invite a group. If you have a group set up together, so we created a group in Facebook called SoCal Barked, and that encompassed San Diego, LA, and Orange County. There were a couple other organizers who wanted to set them up in other areas. We all partnered together. We decided we wanted to work together. That's one little side point from my perspective, at least, is that working together on projects is always better than trying to compete. Competition does breed excellence and it does breed innovation. However, at this point in time, if you have everybody trying to cut each other's throats and undercut each other, it doesn't really help with our industry yet. Once it gets to where the demand is high enough, sure, competition is great, but if you're overly competing at a small level, everybody's going to go out of business, right? Or everyone's going to get fed up or tired of it or irritated enough to where they leave. So anyways, little side point on cooperation within esports, please. But anyway, so yeah, we had the SoCal Barcraft group together. We would just talk about things, right? We talk about in the game and like strategies. We talk about funny things. We talk about personalities. We'd have these little side conversations going in the group. And then I created SoCal eSports Facebook page because that's where you can like it and follow, and that's kind of a metric for sponsors and for other people to see that we're growing or see that we have a reach, right? Additionally, SoCal eSports page is more universal. So while I started with StarCraft, now we do League of Legends, Dota, Smash. We do what's it? I created one for DayZ. I created one for Titanfall. I created one for Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm. All these, we're trying to develop like a gaming community here. But anyways, the principle of it is just what a community is. Like, you talk, you share the same interests, you help each other learn things or improve things, and eventually you build relationships with these people to a minor or major level. So we felt that that was important, and I made a point at the Barcraft, at the live events, of going up to and meeting as many of the people personally as I can. Just even if it's like a 30-second conversation, just meeting them, getting to know their name. And after 3, 4, 5 Barcrafts, like, I started to recognize the same people. We started to talk. For instance, Ron Klontz. I'll give that name. Like, that dude's been to every Barcraft. Like, he is the most loyal Barcrafter, and he watches streams all the time. He ended up getting hired for Blizzard, like, because he went to, not because he's great in his own right, but like, one of the things is he was part of the community, right? Like, he got to meet the Blizzard people at the events, and he's just one example. The Gaskills, now they're married together, Andrea and Jeff. They were at like every event. They won so many things, and I got to know them. They're really cool people, really intelligent and fun. Now they have their own kid. Like, you start to grow and build these relationships with people, right? And I think that's very important to a gaming community. Yeah. I think trying to figure out what interests them, and we highlight that in our community posts as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you're looking at, say, just an average day of running SoCal eSports, whether you have an event going on, planning an event, or just going ahead and managing a community, what's the day like when you're going through and you wake up in the morning and you said, I have SoCal eSports stuff to do?
Yeah, well, believe it or not, I have an 8 to 5 job outside of esports that makes sure that I pay my bills and support my family, and it's my fallback. But when I get home or before my job or at lunch break, I try to come up with community content, right? Just like little posts or things to share on the Facebook page, or in the groups, things that people might be interested in, or events that other people are putting on that I'd like to highlight to make sure that they build a community, because we're not all about only the stuff that we do. Other people do events, other people do interesting things or initiatives, so we want to highlight the things that our community is doing. So I try to come up with good posts, like 1 or 2 a day that people might be into. I try to figure out what events are coming up, like look for announcements of whether it be tournaments or finals coming up anywhere from now to a week from now or to a year from now. The sooner the better. By the way, all you esports organizations, please give us prior notice so that we can plan events. Thank you. But yeah, trying to come up with content. I do a lot of Reddit. I do a lot of Facebook post reading. I do a lot of checking community sites, or the developer sites on the forums, like battle.net or leagueoflegends.com. Just trying to keep up to pace with what's going on in the industry. And then I have a lot of Skype and Facebook chats going all at the same time, all through the day, with different co-organizers or people who want to throw an event with me, or people who want to attend our events, or these relationships that I've made over time, or contacts with sponsors or contacts with developers. I have probably 6 or 7 Facebook messages open at any given time, 3 or 4 Skype messages open at any given time. So you just got to be talking to people. People like to get to know you, and that's important in relationships. So building the relationships, and then if I do have an event coming up, it's execution and planning, like figuring out how to make the event a success, all the elements that are required to make it a success, the people I need to help me to make it a success, because I'm not the only one involved. Got a lot of awesome people on my team. It's kind of turned over as people have gotten promoted, I would say, through esports. We can maybe talk about that later, but yeah, trying to execute events, figure out the future of what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we keep going back to these events, and so this seems to be a big trend, or just a huge thing, a huge part of your life, and a huge part of SoCal eSports. So what,
Yeah.
when say an LCS is coming up or WCS finals coming up, and you're planning these events, what's the first thing going through your head? Is it here's this grand vision I have, or is it okay? What steps can we take to get to whatever final thing we can get to?
I wouldn't call it a quote unquote grand vision, but you do need a vision. Otherwise, you're not going to execute. Right? I was talking to somebody about this today about artistry. Like if you know how to draw, right? Like you can't draw something unless you can see it in your brain. And so the same goes for planning an event. Like unless you can see what you want that event to be in your brain, like you can picture the event, you can picture the people sitting in the chairs or sitting at their computers, you can picture the way everything's set up and the graphics and all that stuff. Unless you can picture that, like you can't execute it. So yeah, a vision is required. Sometimes that vision's repetitive or standard, right? Like you do the same thing at every barcraft, do the same thing at every tournament for a few times before you switch it up and improve or change. But yeah, a vision is important. And then yeah, you need to figure out logistics. I mean, logistics are the most important thing. Like, is your venue available, right? Like, okay, let's say it's a bar. Well, bars do sports, and if it's football season, NFL season, you're probably not going to get a Sunday. And if that bar also specializes in college football, or they have like a niche college football audience, make sure that you're not conflicting with some other big deal viewing event, because otherwise you're probably not getting that venue. Or if it's a bigger viewing party where you have to rent a venue or a tournament, make sure that they have that available. A lot of times these venues are booked like 6 months out, so you have to like think about this stuff ahead of time, plan these logistics. What else? Like I said, staffing. You have to make sure you have the right people on board in order to make your event a success. Because I can't do everything. I don't know how to do everything, but I know how to get the people who do know how to do everything. And so, you build the correct team to execute your event and plan it. And then the next one is awareness. If people aren't going to come to the event if they don't know about it, right? And so that's where you utilize the community that you've built, and you utilize contacts that you've built. Sponsors can also share it for you. The bigger the reach, the better. I'm part of a lot of different other community groups on Facebook, like universities who have their own esports clubs, or different city-based clubs, or larger clubs who kind of groups of organizers who support each other and supporting each other, advertising for each other. So I try to utilize those groups and advertise around, like, again, awareness. Like if people don't know about it, they're not going to come. So you need to make sure they know about it. Sometimes it gets a little repetitive that you announce it a couple times, but it's better that they know 3 times than they don't know at all. You got to be careful. Don't like spam or what's it called, viewer fatigue or advertisement fatigue. But anyways, that's the whole different, complete conversation. I think that's it.
Yeah, so we were talking. We were talking about just kind of events and stuff like that. So you brought up the idea of staffing and finding the right people to do the right thing. For anyone that cares, how I got involved with SoCal eSports was I came up to MLG. We were at MLG Anaheim, and I had just gotten through with my runs with MLG and IPL, and then I just found Cable because I had heard that Cable was doing stuff in SoCal, and I was like, hey, here, we'll meet up. We talked, and we kind of went from there. So Cable, not everyone's like me where they're just going to walk right up to you. How do you go ahead and find these people that are helping you out or that are going to go ahead and make an impact?
No, I'll be honest. Actually, that's the best way. Like, it's been very few people that I've approached them. For the most part, people approach me, and I'm either impressed with you, or I'm unimpressed with you, or I like you, but you're not fitting the need that I have at the time, right? So, no, actually, what you did is like perfect, because I might not know that I need somebody like you, but then you come up along and you talk to me, and I'm like, wow, this guy has incredible experience. He obviously has potential to help us out as an organization, and he really cares about our organization. Like, he loves the community, he loves SoCal, he's from SoCal, he loves our games that we like. So, he is a fit. I didn't even know that I needed this fit, but he fits this piece that I didn't know I needed. And so taking the initiative is always important. You have to be tactful about it. You have to be prudent about it. But taking the initiative is extremely important. I think that's how most of the people that team with us now have gotten to know me. Is they approach me, hey, can you help us out with this? Or they approach me like, hey, I'd like to help you guys out. I think that's very, very important if you want to reach out.
Sure, and so something that you just kind of glossed over that I think is really important that we should really highlight is to really come up with some tact and understand that and some humble pie. I think is coming up and talking to someone is a big deal. I mean, I guarantee if I walked up to Cable, even though maybe I do have the experience and things like that, and we do get along, if I came up like a total jerk, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't happen at all.
Well, you're not a jerk anyway, so it probably never would have happened with you. But no, it's true. I've had people come up to me and just like, man, they know they are everything, and they want to make sure that you know that they are everything. And if you don't recognize that they're everything, like, you have an issue. And it's, yeah, I've known those people, and I have stopped associating with those people, basically. Like, they've come and gone through esports in general, or at least through SoCal eSports area, and it's bothersome. But yeah, everyone should have a measure of humility. And the other thing is modesty, right? The definition of modesty is recognizing your limitations. And so if you're modest, then you know what you're good at. So confidence can go along with modesty, but you also know what you're not good at. And so if you overhype the things that you're not good at and say that you are good at them, then that's going to come out sooner or later. And now I don't really know if I can trust you with what you tell me you're good at, right? So yeah, you have to be modest, and you have to recognize that you're approaching somebody else for help. I mean, again, I would like to emphasize there's a level of confidence required, but it's not cocky confidence. It's I know what I know, right? Like, it's hard. It's not cocky. I can end it there.
Yeah, there's a fine line there, but I mean, I think it is a very important thing that a lot of people kind of gloss over. People tell you to be confident, but how confident
that's true. That's a good point.
Does really matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kimball. I mean, we've talked about events, we've talked about community building. So what general, any kind of esports thing that you're going into, whether it be your event or someone else's, what mindset are you going in with? What's the goal in mind for Cable and esports? Is there a general goal all the time to maybe go ahead and have everyone have fun, or is it to succeed?
Yeah, I mean, it should always be about having fun for the vast majority of people, right? Like, even the people who are working the event, you should be doing it because it's kind of fun. If you're doing it just as a stepping stone on your ladder to own the world of esports, and you're not really having fun, this is a bother to you, but you know that you have to do it, then that's going to come across in the way that you work. It's going to come across in the way that you build relationships, because you're probably not going to build relationships, or you're either not going to build them, or you're going to be way too eager to build them, and I'm going to know that something's up with you being a little too, butt kissy to me. Me or anybody else involved with the, at the top level of the project. So, yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
What else? I missed something else.
No, the general question is just like kind of what are you personally going in with the mindset of?
Oh yeah, having fun. I want to execute a solid event. I prefer that there not be any glitches. I prefer that there not be any stuff come up the day of. There always will be, but the more that you can pre-plan to prevent those things from happening, the easier your life is going to be the day of. And it makes the event a better experience for all involved, right? We all hate, when MLG has a 4-hour delay on their stream, and it's not always their fault, but maybe there was something they could have done ahead of time to plan for it, right? Like, we all hate when internet goes out and you're all playing a game, right? Let's say you're in a tournament where you're competing and your internet goes out and you're like, well, there goes that game, right? Like, it just ruins your experience. It messes with it, and you can go talk to people, that's fine, but you came there to be part of video games. So that's important. We do have our vehicle of esports that everybody talks about. It has issues and technical difficulties, but for the, try and plan the best you can to execute the event. And then I'm always thinking about growth. Like, I always want things to get better. I always want things to get bigger. To me, if you're not growing, then you're stagnant. And while having a solid core is a good thing and the most important thing, to me, if you're not growing, then you're not improving. So I always try to make things better every event. I always try to figure out how I can trim things that I don't need out of the event, or that take away from the experience, or add things to the experience that people will enjoy. And then there's always, celebrities or professionals or developers, pro gamers or developers, and you want to make their lives easier because they're going to help you with events in the future, or they're going to help you with making new relationships. They're going to help you with advertisement or awareness for your events. So you want to treat them nice and be good to them too.
Sure. So, wow, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so the topic of growth, I guess, is a really big one in esports. We're one of the fastest growing industries, I guess, in the world. Esports is kind of blowing up at this point. We've had
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean we've had a huge sort of explosion of growth within the past 2-3 years, and you can kind of tell with I always say, like, you can always tell with like the big events, so like esport, like League of Legends World Championships, you can tell the growth pattern just looking at the crowd. International, you can go ahead and look at that. WCS, you can go ahead and look at that. All these events, you can tell it's just such a gigantic growth pattern. And I'm assuming the same is true with SoCal eSports as well, and sort of every organization across the board. But what do you think there's a danger of maybe growing too fast, or maybe what's the peak at which we can hit?
I don't think there's a danger of growing too fast. I think the danger involved with growing too fast is if you don't know how to facilitate, accommodate, and compensate for that growth, right? Like, you get stuck behind the growth and it outgrows you, and now you're behind and you lose it. And I think that's the danger, right? So if people stay on top of it, I don't think it's a problem. The other thing is how to mitigate deflation, or at least anticipate deflation. So if a title is growing like this, then like don't. I mean, it's like, what do they always say? Don't hedge all your bets on one thing, or don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Like, you don't think that it's going to stay here forever, right? Like, eventually huge titles have gone like this and then like this, and then they come back up a little bit, and they kind of wibble wobble around, and maybe they'll have a spike, and don't think that spike's going to be forever. But I don't think that growth speed is a problem. I think if we keep growing fast, then it's awesome, so long as we keep control of it. One thing that I worry about is with esports growing is that these huge money moguls that own the world are going to come in and take over esports, and mainstream is not a bad thing in the sense that of a lot of people, but mainstream is a bad thing in the sense that if the people who care about it lose control of it, right? Like, for instance, the music industry, for instance, the movie industry, these things are worth so much money that you just have businessmen come in. They don't care about music, they don't care about business, and now they are about movies. They change, they warp the industry around the business, and that is one danger of, if people don't control it well enough, of growing too fast, is we're going to have business people come in and just take everything over. You have to be strong in business, and business people aren't bad, but it's just whether or not they maintain the correct vision and community. Anyways, but yeah, esports is amazing how fast it's growing, and Twitch, and right, Twitch gets bought by Amazon, and then Twitch buys GG, right? And now, basically, in essence, Amazon owns all these game teams.
They technically sponsor them.
The quick escalation of that was very interesting. Yeah.
They're technically the agency for them.
I have my feelings about that, but anyways, it's like shill buyers, right? Like on eBay, like I can create a second account and bid on my own thing, and just to artificially inflate the value. I think a lot of that happens in that level of team. But anyways, yeah, esports. Sometimes you get tired, like, especially with my own. I have a full-time career. It's not just a job, but like a full-time job, and then I do esports. And sometimes you get tired, and you're like, man, is this really going anywhere? Like, yeah, it's cool, it's fun, but like, am I gonna ever be able to make this my full-time job, or do people really appreciate what I do? Yeah, everybody second guesses themselves every now and then, and then I just look at how fast esports is growing, and it's just like, nope, I'm on this train. I'm staying on this train because I love this train, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I like the people involved with it. So, yeah, esports is just going to keep growing, and if you can keep on pace with it, if you can adjust quickly enough with it, then I think you'll be successful in it. Whether you and here's the thing to everybody. Like I know we're going long here, but it's a mentality that's come and gone a lot in the history of just of all employment, of this like entitlement mentality that these kids graduate from high school and they think that they can be a CEO of a company immediately just because one guy that they heard about did that, right? Like one guy became a CEO of his company and became a millionaire. Now like every 18-year-old kid graduating from high school thinks that they can, or every kid who graduates from college thinks that they don't need an internship because they're going to go and be a project manager right out of high school or college because they know what they're doing, right? Same thing goes into esports. You have a lot of people who think that they know what they're doing, and they're not willing to take the bottom level of job in order to build relationships, gain experience, gain technical abilities, learn the industry in general. Like, no, you have to be willing to start at the bottom and rise up. And story about my father-in-law. He started in the mailroom of a newspaper company, and he became the CFO. And that's over the course of 20, 30 years. But he started in the mailroom. He had no experience. He had no nothing, and he was willing to work his way up. And he became the CFO. So I use that mentality a lot in my life. That like you have to pay your dues. And yeah, one guy who might get some lucky opportunity because he knows somebody, or his brother's this thing, or he lucked out on a chance meeting with a guy who really liked him, or I don't know. You have these lucky things, but like for the most part, you got to work your way through it, and I think that's very important. And there's a lot of examples of people who have in SoCal eSports. They've worked their way up from just, hey, can I help? Yeah, what do you know how to do? I'm not super technical at anything, but I just really want to help. I really want to help you out. Okay, sure. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Or maybe some guy has a skill and he wants to apply it to esports and figure out how he can attune it to esports. We've had people who they went on to do audio for Riot, versus they used to do just like audio production at our events, at our little tournaments. They used to do the little soundboards and mixboards, and now they do audio productions for Riot. We've had people who cast for our events. Like, hey, I want to be a caster. I want to learn. Like, I'll give anybody an opportunity, right? Like, hey, sure, yeah, let's give you an opportunity. You can test your wit, you can test your stage presence, and you can teach yourself how to learn more, right? And now we've had at least 2, if not I think 3 people go on to cast for big leagues. 2 of them got hired by Riot recently to do like the real stream, like LCS. I can announce Devin Pyrotechnics, Young, I forget. I'm sorry, Young. Mm-hmm. He has the E at the end.
E
but anyways,
silent, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry, Devin. But anyways, he casted. He did that same thing. He sent me an email like, hey, I'd like to cast for you guys. Is there an opportunity, a spot? I'm like, yeah, man, sure. I think you could do it. Give it a shot. We'll give anybody a shot. Now the dude's casting for LCS Europe. It's pretty incredible. We've had people who started out like, hey, I want to help at your Barcrafts. Can I help you organize? And now they are house managers for LCS teams, right? We've had people, like I said, Ron, get hired at Blizzard. We've had people get hired at other game developer companies. Like people work for Team Liquid. People work for EG. People work for all these and they just started at the bottom level position at esports, which there's no real positions, but they were willing to do anything is the basic idea, and they were willing to work for it and willing to learn and gain experience. And there can't be enough said about that. It's very, very valuable and important. And time, right? You put the time in, and you get to know people. Getting to know people, everybody knows, is the most important thing. So that's that.
Yes, and
Chris?
to add on what Cable was saying was, I mean, just look at me. I've started with a lot of big organizations and a lot of big things, but and I've started at the bottom of every company. It's not like you move, like if you are now a project manager for some company, that you're going to jump on and be a project manager somewhere else. You're going to have to start at the bottom. Like starting over is never a problem, is what I'm trying to say. You should never be afraid to start at the bottom, to start back and learn something else, because every company works differently. Everyone has a different process. And that's really what I'm hoping to explore with this kind of series that I'm doing, is to sort of see everyone's process and sort of figure out all the different styles and ideas that you can kind of get out of people in esports. We have such a diverse group of people in esports. It'd be a shame not to go ahead and explore, kind of pick at their brains a little bit and see what they have to offer. And I think like as soon as you go ahead and think you have the right way to do something, you're doing something wrong. Cool. Cable, anything else to add? Also,
Yeah.
actually, before he goes ahead, Cable brought up some people that did grow up sort of in SoCal eSports. So we had, you know,
If you're solely self-confident, yes.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, Cable did bring up that people are going to go ahead and make bigger careers for themselves from SoCal eSports. So we had Devin Young, we have Aiden Zyrene Moon, we had, you know, Julian Collins, and all of these people are going to have Industry Mind Games shows on them. I do have the dates already set to go ahead and record with them, so I'm very excited for that. But go ahead and check those out as well. Just a little plug there, but they all are on board, and that's the great thing about this community as well, is that everyone's sort of on board for projects that every one of us has and are willing to help out. So so yeah, Cable, anything else to add on? Anything else?
Great idea for a program. I hope that people enjoy it. I know that the people who are interested will take heed, and so I think it's a very valuable thing that you're doing for all of us. Like, I can watch these other people's, and I'll probably learn a number of things myself. And you can only always improve yourself, right? Like, if you think there's no room for improvement, then you're never gonna grow beyond what you are, and that's a problem, because you'll probably start to decline. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching all the rest of them, and thanks for the idea. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for allowing me to talk about SoCal eSports, and looking forward to working with you and hopefully others in the area, or others. You know, I've had people from around the nation like email me and say, hey, I want to start up something in my area. You know, feel free to do that, and I'll do my best to give you the starters and pointers that I can. I also helped co-write a document for Blizzard on how to create Barcraft. So try and search that, and that will give you a lot of just general event concepts, but also specifically viewing party concepts as well that you might want to run. So yeah, thanks, man, for doing this.
Yeah, no problem, guys. And actually, the Barcraft stuff that Cable is talking about, I just looked it up. It's at wcs.battle.net /sc2 /en /Barcraft. You can go ahead and there's a list of Barcrafts along with a short guide there as well. So you can go ahead and check that out for Cable. I'll probably link it in the description below as well. But Cable, thank you so much for being on as my my first guest and gracing us with your presence as always. All right, guys, keep watching, and hopefully I'll have a bunch more and a schedule of when these are coming out later for you. Have a good day.